There's this stereotype of me that follows me around, or I think I follow her around, actually. Usually she shows up first in the paper, and then I show up in the flesh, and people are like, we're supposed to be intimidated by you? You know, like, yeah, right, sure. So, I think the thing is...
Good evening and welcome very much to Conversations. I'm pleased to welcome to the program this evening a singing poetic phenomena here in this country, Ani Difranco, and we're here at the Wetlands in New York, and Ani, welcome very, very much to Conversations. I've just had the pleasure of listening to you and Andy entertain the people here at the Wetlands in New York City, and we want to do a sort of introduction here now, and we're obviously going to let the music and the singing and the poetry and the messages that you convey be the prime force of the program, because it's tremendous what you do. Yeah. But we would like to just introduce you a little bit here. Maybe you could just let us know, and for myself know, you've been doing this for a long time, and these poems are things of yours. You've been doing this since you were a youngster, 9, 10 years old or something. Even shorter.
I was even shorter.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I was writing poetry when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Poetry is that way.
Yeah. And I started playing guitar when I was like 9 or 10. So it's been good 12 years in the making.
Yeah, a lot of work goes into that. You've been working, and then you go, and you're developing a whole lot of people around the country are really picking up on you. You're in the colleges and so forth. Can you identify your audience? Is it a younger audience? Is it an expanding audience? Is it a female audience, male audience, or how do you sense it? Just as you're beginning to, you're starting to emerge now into the main society. But I wonder how you sense your audience and who are you talking to?
Well, it actually, funnily enough, it depends a lot on the way I am portrayed in the media before I show up. The way people write about me, the terms that they couch me in, affect who comes out to hear me play. So if somebody in the media picks up on young militant feminist angry then you'll see a crowd of young feminist women college age. But if somebody just says she whatever radical singing musical poetry depending on what they stress but I really enjoy singing and speaking to people of different ages and sexes and races, and there are universal themes you're talking about. You're talking about universal justice in a way, if I may say so, that is so little heard. I mean, you talk about that. Some of your songs talk about the universal justice and the numbers of people and the inappropriate attitude of most people toward the oppressed peoples of the world, of which there are so many, and so seemingly accepted by so many of the general society. Do you get a sense, and do you ever get a sense of anger about how the mass of the society seems to go along with the injustices that seem to characterize the contemporary world as we look at it, and even as we begin to look ahead and make projections? You understand what I'm saying? Yes. I mean, I think that the passivity, the inertia of so many people is what really frustrates me. And I think, we learn to make compromises and sacrifices along the way. And I think people accept that much too much. I think that people, they start out with an idea of the way they think the world should be, and then they look around and they find out how the world really is, and they sort of hedge and hedge and hedge until they've accepted much too much, I think.
Yeah.
And, I think that I speak from my experience as a woman, very much so. It informs what I write, and it's definitely there, but I think that as people, we have so much more in common than we have differences, and I hate to be pigeonholed in terms of playing women's music or something, because I would agree with you that we're all in this together.
We're all in this mess together,
That's
or
right.
however we want to characterize this, which we are. And James Joyce once said, "History is a nightmare from which we're attempting to awaken." I don't know if that's really it, but it can be in a certain sense seen that way, that there are these kind of conditions, and there isn't enough. And it's just that it seems to be. Noam Chomsky says the media seems to manufacture consent among the people, and we live in almost like a post-industrial feudalism that's emerging in terms of the mass of the society, and it just seems to be accepted. And do you think that, do you sense, I saw Allen Ginsberg on the other day, he said he thinks there's a new spirit, there's a new something that's beginning to manifest itself, particularly among the young. I refer to you now, you're obviously from a younger generation, but he took great heart. He said the 50s and 60s and then the 70s and 80s sort of went quiescent or comatose or something. He said he thinks there's a spirit that's really serious and is really emerging. You sense that? Can you sense it? Can you feel it blowing in the wind, feeling in the wind, or sense a positive kind of awakening among the young, perhaps, and then they in turn can perhaps bring the broader society along to the need, recognize the need for change?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always, there always seems to be a new, life force and a new, impetus for change going on with every, generation, and, not like we can divide into generations so clearly.
Yeah.
And, but they're, like right now they're characterizing my generation as Generation X, this sort of lost, apathetic, kind of like confused.
Slackers.
Yeah, sort of, and I mean, I think again that's sort of a media driven. It's just created. It's created.
Yeah.
They're making it up, and whether you buy into it or not, I don't.
You do not buy into.
I know a lot of really active. Really, thinking, active, young people who are as inspiring to me as people who have been doing political work for years and years and years.
I hear you. And it's a lot of the young people are beginning to. There's a new life breathing into that from where we've been.
Yeah. Well, Abby Hoffman.
God bless him.
God bless him. Yeah. He said, like it's got to be the young people who really drive the movement, because they're impatient. Yeah. Because they want it now. If there's anything that youth is, it's impatience. Yeah. And so, I think that that energy is important.
Yeah, and it's new, and but it needs a voice. It needs a voice. It goes for a long time. And I don't know. I don't like to be presumptuous or anything like that. But I think among the many sources and places we might look for that a voice that would begin to awaken that spirit in the younger and in the larger audience, it's Ani Difranco, if I may say so. I think you're a major voice and poetic talent. I really congratulate you on the work. We're going to want to let people see that. The poems are the songs, and there's the music is tremendously powerful, as well as the lyric or poetry that you put to the music is both. And we're obviously going to run this for the audience and so forth that's coming up. But the poems or the lyrics, they're yours? They're all yours? Yeah, you do all that, right? Yeah. And how's it coming? Is it coming in a more and more?
Every day stuff happens, and then I end up writing about it,
Yeah.
And I sort of see that as a form of political work, just to tell my story. I think that there's a lot of people out there who feel that their story, and rightly so, who feel that their stories are not being told on TV or in history books, or who feel that they are just not, their voices aren't included. So I think for anybody who feels that, to stand up on a stage or publish a book or in some way just relate their experience so that people are aware of it, so that people can include it in their in their consciousness. Right. And then hopefully it will be there to influence thinking when it's time to make laws. Just to sort of try and get it inserted into history. Absolutely, get it inserted into the context of the way things are going. We need it, and it's not coming from the political leadership. It's not coming from the corporate leadership. It's not coming from the traditional sources of leadership. It's got to come. The leading edge that's going to come from the poetic community. It seems like it always has and probably always will. But it's a new change. Do you sense a sense of new qualitative change? Well, I think that there are always the majority of people are outside this sacred circle of corporations and government, and if you can see a distinction there at all. And I think that there is a lot more noise coming from the outside, more and more. I find that there's a lot more awareness and discourse about issues today than there were even 5 years ago or 10.
It's going to grow too.
There's
systems aren't working.
No, that's true.
No, I mean, even in a pragmatic sense, much less in a metaphysical sense. I mean, it seemed that way. Well, listen, Annie, we've been talking here and everything. I could talk to you for 25 hours, easy. And then maybe on another occasion.
Go.
No, we gotta, as of now, right? No, we could do it easy. On another occasion, we will. But we want to let the people see the music and hear it, right? So why don't we do that now? We got her, and we're at the wetlands, right? Again, a memorable, ecologically oriented, change-oriented place here in the middle of New York City, belly of the beast, if any place there was. But now, so we're going to bring you some of Annie Difranco. This is, what is it? It's February 23, 1994, in the Christian era, that this is being performed here in New York City. So we'll bring you some excerpts from the concert, and then we'll come back and say goodnight and round this out. Okay, so here it is now. Get yourself ready for some really good music is coming up. Annie Difranco and Andy Stochansky, drummer extraordinaire.
So thanks very much for coming here tonight. I had to come. And now I'm Dane Bramage. You gotta have the right tools for every job, so I invite myself in through the hole in the fence. I am tripping through the junkyard, scanning over the piles. The thin cats raise their skin in defense, and I know he's watching me. I can see him through the cracks. His eyes are small and shy on my back. He says his name is Jason. He lives in the last trailer on the right. He tells me he'll be 7 on the 4th of July.